Hello, everybody. We today are starting our first webinar series from Spoors Technology Solutions. And today we're going to talk about how one could build complex workflows easily with no-code platforms. Today we have with us technologist, entrepreneur, and our CEO, Mr. Ramakrishna Reddy. Hello, Ram.
Hey, Joseph.
Hi, and I will be moderating this discussion. My name is Joseph, and I head sales at Spoors Technology Solutions. Thank you, Ram, for joining in this conversation. The first question that I would like to ask you is, uh, how can one streamline one's business operations using no-code platforms? What is the importance of no-code platforms today, and is it imperative that businesses should actually latch onto no-code platforms? How is it going to make a difference to business operations on the whole?
Cool. Cool. Great first question. Let me give you a small background about how and why no code is born. If you look at a lot of business operations, they are not stable. They keep changing. Now, the changes in business operations happen due to various factors. It's because of government regulations. It could be people changes. It could be leadership changes. It could be environmental changes. It could be business changes. So there's tons of reasons why business process change and evolve continuously. And if one thinks that they've nailed every process to the 99th percentile of the process, then they are literally lying to themselves, right? So how is it related to what I'm talking about, right? Because business process change, every time something changes, if you have an IT team, they would need to go through a development process. Typically, even if a small rules change or a condition change, or even some 10-20 lines of code changes, right? It has to go through a huge cycle of test, development, impact analysis, and all that kind of stuff, which ranges anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks to a minimum. Now, in the process, by the time you start making these changes in the business process, deploy the new code, the process again change, right? Because
True.
in the next 6 weeks, there could be another new thing that you might have discovered, right? Now, this change is constant, and we always think one thing that is constant is change, right? Now, with uh, with doing a traditional way of developing things, these changes would take anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, which means the business which has to take benefit out of the process change, or technology which has to support these business people to adhere to the new guidelines, conditions, and stuff like that, they're delayed by at least 12 weeks. And it's like a constant evolution. The other thing happens is every time there's a change, you have to retrain your team members to follow the new process, right?
Adhere to the new process, yes.
Yes. So in order to avoid these things, even training, you might still have to do it. But then if you look at every time there's a small change rolling out in 12 weeks, then going through the whole cycle of training, you're talking about at least another 2 weeks from there, right? So by the time a small change coming into reality is taking a lot of time. Now, that's one thing. The second aspect is you need experts, right? While you are an expert in how the business process needs to look like, how the changes should, but you're not an expert in coding. So you always have to rely on another person who is an expert, and he doesn't understand the pressure that you're going through, because you have to adapt to a business change. Let's say there is a regulation change, like demonetization happened, and you had to comply with it in next few days and not months. And the whole cycle, if it would take 12 weeks, you had a huge problem there, right? Now, as a business
Absolutely.
person, you go through that challenge, but the IT guy doesn't really worry about it, because he has his own process. And again, I'm not saying he's wrong, but he has to follow the process to make sure there is quality to the code, right? He has to do an impact analysis. He should understand the requirement. He needs to make changes. It needs to go through a test cycle, then a deployment cycle, and stuff like that, right? So he's following his process to make sure the quality is high. But the business cannot wait, and that's when the no-code platforms have taken shape, right? Now, what
Yeah.
no-code platform does here is first give the ability to businesses to change as the business changes. You don't really have to go through a huge test cycle. Now, a 1 or 2 days of piloting is more than enough. That is number one, right? Because it's working and you can see it on the screen the moment you make changes instantly. So that's the first. The no code will give you the ability to configure things on the fly, and make modifications on the fly. That's number one. Number two, no code platforms gives the ability to your business analyst who understands the business also to configure without having to know or understand coding like Java, whatever it is, which takes a lot more time to learn and then implement it, right? And there's a high possibility that you need to have a different level of expertise in that space to make it better, right? And then the third biggest benefit is you're not relying on anybody, right? It's all under your control.
True.
And the speed of change, right? So the other biggest benefit is most of the time what happens when you go outsource your development to somebody else, and every time you make a change it's very expensive, so you're forced to think about the business operations in full. Now the first question that gets asked is, are you sure about your business process? Can anybody in this world be sure about the business process? Because it will change, we know. And why do we even ask that question is because before you give it to the development team you want to be sure, because the cost of change is very heavy, extremely heavy, right? So in order to address that, and then with platforms like no code and where you can easily change and build stuff, you don't have to wait it to be 100%. If you have 50% of thing figured out, automate it and then incrementally add the rest of the percentage. You don't have to do it everything on the go, and there is no additional cost to it, and you don't need to follow up with another person. It's all first in your hands. You can start at a 50% ideation level, in sometimes 30% ideation level, and build on top of it, right? And that's the power of no code, right? So first thing, when I say streamlining business operations streamline can be done through coding too. With no code you get the ability to start even without having the full requirements. You get the ability to change at your will. You get the ability to, with the speed of development, it can be instant, right? And you don't have to depend on anybody,
True.
right? So that means the speed in streamlining is exponential compared to actually building using a coding platform. And using no code you can do this instantly and very easily.
Great points, Ram. So what I'm hearing is that with ever-changing business needs based on market conditions, you don't have to shy away in making changes to the process or wait for an expert to come and make those changes. So no-code gives you the ability to quickly make those changes in your process and be faster to the market or bring your business faster to the market.
Perfect.
Thanks. Thank you, Ram. Those were great insights there. Now, you run a no-code company yourself. Can you give us a small sneak peek into what is effort all about, and how does it work, and how is it helping customers today?
Sure. So effort primarily was born from this belief that why should only an IT person should do development, right? Why can't anybody who understands businesses is not in a position to development? So effort actually was born from that thought process is anybody in this world should be able to become a developer. And effort with its the ability to do, which is a no-code platform, gives you a lot of configurations options where you can build processes without having to depend on an expert in coding, right? So you can become a developer using effort,
Mhm. Mhm.
and with just doing some configurations. There's a lot of training material available online where you can sign up on effort, start building the apps and deploying the apps in few minutes. In 15 to 20 minutes, you can just start using effort
So
without
it's like,
absolutely knowing a
would
no
it be right
effort.
to say that we are democratizing the whole coding game?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's one thing. And these days, they use a new word called citizen development, right? If you are
Okay,
a citizen, you could develop it, right? And that's
absolutely.
what we are trying to achieve here.
Fantastic, fantastic. Great, great, Ram, great. Now, from a business process management perspective, right? What you've largely covered, how does it, affect when somebody's trying to make a change in a business process? But managing a business process on the whole, how does no code help?
Yeah, I think we touched upon that.
Absolutely.
Like I said, when you say business process, change and business process are together. You
Mhm.
can't have a business process that runs forever,
Yeah, yeah.
and changes happen instantly, quickly, and it doesn't give you a lot of notice,
Hmm.
right? And
Absolutely.
one of the biggest benefit of no code is you can adapt to that change not after 10 days, after 20 days. You can adapt to that change now. And that's why we really named our goal as transform now, or our tagline is transform now, because we give you the ability to transform it now rather than waiting forever or waiting for even a day or an hour, right? So why are no code so beneficial to business process? Because by nature, business process is meant for changes. It's never stable, right?
Correct.
And
Mhm.
no code gives you the ability to adapt to the change instantly.
Right, right. Now, when you consider business operations and management, right, which covers employee operations, could be on the field, off the field, uh, you know, uh, could you give us a quick overview of what could be the challenges and opportunities that somebody could look at here, right? When you're talking about people working inside an organization and activities being done, and for people working outside an organization, could be in the same location or geographically spread. Could you give us a quick snippet about what you think around that?
Sure. So the first thing is business operations involves two aspects. One are the people, the other
Hmm.
one are the processes. When these two work together very well is when you can say your business processes or operations are streamlined, right? If one is going south and the other, the processes are not followed, even if you're a great employee and you do everything great and you work hard, and if you don't follow a process and you miss the shipment, then you still fail, right? Because the customer is going to get impacted. Now, generally, people, again, there are two types of people. I mean, there are many types. I mean, the people from an employee standpoint, there's employees who work on the field, there are employees who work within the office, right? And they also need to coordinate with each other, right? And these days, the coordination happens through uh, email, WhatsApp, SMSs, and there's a high chance of error in that because it doesn't put any restrictions or any um, uh, it doesn't give you or any compliances, or doesn't validate stuff. You can just write anything, and the person who's receiving could make a lot of errors, right? So there's a lot of issues in terms of both uh, employees, between the people who are remote and who are in the office, right? So now streamlining just communications between them to structure data is very essential. The second thing is, when it comes to workflows, most of the time, the people on the field, people in the office, they can go ask a colleague, hey, what is the next step? Because you have so many people around you. but you are on the field and you don't have anybody around you, right? The only solution for you is you can't remember first thing. People say I can remember a lot, but I personally feel, you should not be remembering stuff because these things change, right? So the tools or the system should guide you the path rather than you remembering the path, right? These days, even if you're like in a city that you're grown up, you still use Google Map because you want to know the
Absolutely.
shortest distance, right?
I was just
So
about to say that nobody remembers routes anymore
routes
because they have
anymore. Right? So the
Google
same
Maps. Yes.
thing is processes. You don't need to remember the process next step. That the tool needs to guide you. What should be the logical next step based on the data you entered, right? So that's where you have different types of workflows. Now, whether it is an action flow, which tells you what is the next logical action or activity that you need to perform based on what you entered, or a list of questions that you need to answer, like a checklist,
Hmm.
or a service ticket, like a case management. You can open a case, look at what is the status of the case. Now these are all are included in workflows, right? So there are different types of workflows, different sequences, different steps. One remembering that is impossible, right? And we shouldn't
Absolutely.
expect that, right? So I think first, the biggest challenge is coordinating between your on-field employees and in-office employees. Make it seamless without using these tools, these traditional tools like pen and paper, Excel, email, WhatsApp. These are prone to errors, and the biggest challenge is consolidation, right? You get it from
Mhm.
different channels, putting them together, doing reports is like painful.
And over a period of time, there is so much data you don't know what is where, and then
Exactly, right? And you
searching
get
it out also
lost.
could be quite laborious.
Similarly, process steps could change anytime. Could be the processes could be from one to many, and the many sometimes you don't know what path it takes. How does it revolve? Does it loop in? Does it just a checklist? There's so many ifs and buts in the processes that you need to take care of it, and that's where workflows really help, right? With the
Hmm.
tools like us, you can easily solve these problems and manage these communications effectively. The best thing is your field employees don't have to remember what are the standard operating procedure, because the procedure because the tool itself is going to guide you what is the next logical step, and you don't have to remember all the questions, because if you have a checklist form, it will automatically ask you the questions and it will seek answers from you, right? So those are an amazing opportunities that you have, which will help you first. If you follow these processes with the help of a tool, your response to customers increases significantly, and your error rates comes down, significantly, and overall your productivity improves and your profitability increases.
Besides, I think when you automate this, that the whole processes, it puts everybody on parity, at least from knowing the process and then ensuring that they are adhering to the process.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the biggest challenge is adherence, right? And if you put it in Excel, Excel doesn't enforce adherence. But
Absolutely.
tools
Yeah.
like us make sure, like, let's say if there's a process that needs to be executed at a certain location and within time, tools like us will enforce that, and that Excel can never do it, right? Or WhatsApp can never do it. And tools like us will help you so that there is more trust built with customer, because if you're saying your person is going to come at that location within time, the tool will enforce, or not, it will let you and your customer know that this guy is not been there on time. Plus, if there are 10 steps that needs to be performed, the tool will enforce that the person performs those 10 steps at that customer location, so that the customer feels more confident about your processes, right?
Great. Great. Thank you for that insight, Ram. And how does effort today, help streamline employee operations and improve business processes? Can you, give us some examples, some use cases that you've been working on, making a difference with some of your customers?
So, um, firstly, from an employee operation standpoint, uh, you give them a tool to do their work easily, right? The biggest thing. Now, a lot of times, you ask your employees to send an Excel sheet. So they write it on a book, they go home, again, fill an Excel sheet, send it to you. It is painful. Why should they do it, right? Why not they have a tool they can instantly fill this data without in one tool, and then the tool is smart enough to report that data back to the company headquarters. And also, if the company is looking at, if your organization using ERPs like SAP and stuff like that, the data automatically moves to SAP. That's the number one benefit is that. Second benefit is most of the employees who are remote or frontline workers, they are in a condition where they don't know if they have connectivity, no connectivity, and stuff like that, right? Tools like Effort helps you to fill this data offline without having to again write it down somewhere. You can just put it in your tool. The tool is again smart to save it locally if it doesn't have internet connectivity. And whenever there is internet connectivity, the tool wakes up and sends all the data to your cloud and your ERP if that is integrated with the system, right?
Mhm.
These are direct benefits to the employee because first, there's no duplicate work that they need to do.
Mhm.
Second,
Yeah. So once you capture data, it is done, right? You integrate
perfect.
it with another tool, and then it moves, and then you can take, decisions based on that.
Based
Great,
on it,
great.
and that's one thing. The second thing, that is from an employee perspective. From an employer perspective, your employee is working today through some of the tools that we have where they can sign in and sign out and stuff like that. And you also know whether he's at the customer location, whether he's reached on time. And these are the benefits to the organizations who has to monitor their employees, because if an employee is late to meeting a customer, the reputation of the organization is at stake with the customer, not the employee's reputation, right? So,
Absolutely.
so this will help you proactively ensure that that whatever commitments you are making to the customer is happening, right? So that's a benefit to the employer itself.
Employer.
And then, like the other thing I said, right? The employee don't have to remember every step, right? And he doesn't have to do a lot of training because the tool is going to guide the next step. You say, hey, based on this, here is the next step that you need to perform, right? So that means employee should focus on just doing what he's supposed to do rather than doing a lot of remembering, and that's a bigger benefit to the employee. Now, from a
Completely,
customer's,
completely agree, Ram.
yeah,
Just showing up at a customer's place and performing an activity on time can go a long way in building a brand than investing millions of dollars in advertising.
absolutely. And then the last but not least, the customer itself is going to be extremely happy because first he has control. I mean, finally, like I would say, finally, he knows what's happening. Most of
Yeah,
the time, the customer is in blind.
it's in the dark. Yes,
Yeah, you don't know if the person is going to come. Is the person capable of doing it? Does he understand the process? A lot of times, we see people watching from behind these guys who are repairing to see if this guy is doing, especially when you're repairing cars. Because we like our cars, and if somebody, we don't want somebody to tamper. But when you have them use these tools and they see they follow steps and stuff like that, customer becomes very confident that, hey, these guys are just not doing things in the dark. There is something which is guiding them, right? Even though
absolutely.
their manager is not there, but the tool is guiding, and that's like an assistant to the employee. And when they see this assistant, which is a tool and technology, the customer's confidence increases multifold, right? And the visibility that the customer gets is immense, right?
Absolutely.
So tools like Effort first not only gives a lot of benefits to the employee itself, because for them, they don't have to duplicate any work. They don't need to remember things because everything is in the tool and everything the tool will drive. From an employer, the benefit is they get full visibility of if these guys are going on time, reaching the customer on time. And from a customer standpoint, he knows the person who's come there is in control because there's a tool which is guiding him. And the customer himself has a lot of visibility. And by creating a process for each different type of service ticket, you have the ability to tell the employee without you being there what to do and how to do. Right?
Correct.
That's the beauty of platforms like Effort.
Correct. So, the employee, the employer, and the customer is benefited in the whole bargain. The employee knows, what are the activities that he has to do. It's not a random call, right? So somebody is assigning a task to him based on his availability and workload. The employer knows if the activities are happening on time, and end of the day, customer really gets to know where exactly, where and how and who's going to handle this problem, right? So it's a win-win all the way.
Perfect. It's win, win, win. All three people winning.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, could you also explain why the effort platform is specifically used for field operations, and what are some key advantages of using it? I think you've covered this partially in the previous questions, but if you could specifically speak about field operations.
Sure. I mean, as a tool, we are a business. We help automate a lot of business process. Now, I'll tell you. Okay, the reason why we picked field as an area to start with, because one, um, it's an easy entry point for us, right, to get in and help. And the largest problem is with the field, because one, they are remote,
Mhm.
and especially people on the field extremely hardworking people, right? And I'm not saying that the other people are not hardworking, but field, your hardworking goes high because you're going in sun, you don't have an air condition, you're driving to a distance, and there are a lot of other things, and the customer might not be available, the person you're meeting might not be responding properly. There's so many other things that comes in, and then these frustration levels go higher when you're on the field.
On the
Now,
field.
on top of it, if you don't have a reliable tool to depend on, your problems escalate like crazy, right?
Mhm.
So we felt we want to make the field person's life much easier. First, because he doesn't have to write things in two different places. He fills it in a tool and he forgets it. Second, he doesn't have to remember all the SOPs, standard operating procedures, steps, and all that kind of stuff, which the tool itself will guide. Third thing, you need a tool that works offline for them, right? And we are the only company in the world which enables you to execute all the steps in a process in an offline mode, without having to connect to the internet, right? Because that's our architecture, which helps do. And because of the remote execution capability on your device locally, it gives immense ability for the field guys to complete their jobs on time, every step that they need to do without having to remember anything, right? So that's the benefit that we start. But ideally, if you see effort, in Spoors, which our company, we have 80 employees. We don't have any field operations, but we run our entire operations on effort, right? All the way from employees coming in, submitting their timesheets, our pre-sales leads, our POCs, our requirements, our ticketing, all of them. Some of them are already on Spoors, and everything else will be on Spoors pretty soon. So if you look at, we run Spoors business operations. Effort runs Spoors business operations without having to depend on any other tool. Similarly, we can have other companies take advantage of running their business operations, but we start with field because the biggest problem that people have is on the field, because a lot of these processes don't work offline. You have to always connect to the internet to determine what is the logical next step. But we built
Yeah.
intelligence in our tool where even the logical next steps are defined by the tool without even having to connect to the internet, right? That's the beauty of the product.
I understand. So I mean, yeah, the field guy could be in a basement. He could be in a remote location, tending to a customer. And then if there is low network, it takes forever for the app to come up and then, record information because it's mandatory. It could get a little, irritating at times, right, as a field guy. So completely understand, Ram. So, you're making a note of what you're doing in a book, and then, there is no record of it. Today, with effort, you basically recording it on the platform, and then it is there for everybody to see. But uh, do you get this pretty often that there is too much of intrusion into what I am doing, or there is an eye on what I am doing? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not so generally. A lot of people think technology is an intrusion for everybody's life, whether it is a mobile device, whether it's a TV, whether it is a camera. They think it's intrusion. Now, yes, we do get these things, but what we found was people who have who focused on getting their work done, they love our tool absolutely, because it's really improving. I mean, it's making their life easy. First, don't capture multiple times, don't remember anything, because everything is there on the device, right? So that's an immense help that they would get. Now, yes, sometimes again, people need to understand that the data that gets captured is to not reprimand the employee, but to build analytics to ensure that we give better service to our customer, in terms of, hey, are there reasons why we are not able to deliver things faster to the customer? Is it the terrain? Is it what it is, right? Do we do we have to do something about the product or feedback and all that kind of stuff? So there's a lot of intelligence that gets collected and analyzed that will improve the company reputation and the confidence of the customer on the organization itself.
Yeah, which in turn could possibly help the guy on the field.
Perfect. Yeah. Because yeah, less tickets and easy resolutions.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ram. That was a great insight that you've given us on, the benefits of no code, what you're doing with effort, and how your customers are benefiting. It's not just field operations; it's also internal operations that you can, take benefit from. The fact that you're using that internally in your organization is a statement that this is something that can pretty much work, even if a customer is looking at automating his internal operations. Thank you so much for sparing that time. And for everybody who's viewing, please take a sneak peek into our platform. You can get details of it on www.geteffort.com. There's a 14-day free trial. Play around with it and feel free to reach us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you once again, Ron.
Thanks, Joseph. Looking forward for more. Take care.